An exponential function in the form f of x equals a times b to the x passes through these two given points. And what we need to do here is find the values of a and b. Now, the first thing we should point out is that we're talking here about an exponential function, right? But this problem has nothing to do with that, right? The fact that it's an exponential function has no bearing on how we do this problem. This is a common problem. Now, we could have the same problem, apply it to a rational function or a quadratic function or a linear function, right? So we would approach this problem in the exact same way, regardless of the type of function. It just so happens in this case, we're starting off with this exponential function, which means our variable appears as an exponent, a times b to the power of x. Okay, so it's an exponential function. What's important here is that we have two unknown constants, the a and the b, and we also have two pieces of information. Well, there's one point on the graph, and there's another point on the graph. Okay, so each one of these points is a pair, right? An ordered pair. We have an x value, and we have a y value. So when x is 12, when x is 0, the y value is 12. But we're not calling them y values. Well, let's call them function values, f of x. But remember, f of x and y are the same thing. Input, output. X goes in, f of x comes out. We use f of x when we're talking about functions. We use y when we're talking about equations, but they're more or less interchangeable in terms of the step-by-step process. Okay, and then we have this other ordered pair. When x is 2, the y value, or the function value, is 108. Okay, it's two separate pieces of information, and we could use them one at a time. So let's start with this one right here. 0 and 12. Okay, when x is 0, the y value, or the function value, is 12. So that means the 12 is going here, and the 0 is going here, right? Replace x with 0 and replace f of x with 12. Let's see what happens. Oh, that becomes 12 is equal to a times b to the power of 0. Now I'm starting with the point that contains the 0 because those are the ones that are usually easier to work with, because 0 times anything is 0 and anything to the 0 power is 1. So it doesn't matter what b is. This right here is equal to 1. Anything to the 0 power is 1. Right? So now that becomes 12 is equal to a times 1. And a times 1 is a. So we've got 12 is equal to a. Right? So now our function, we don't know what the actual function is, but we no longer have two unknown constants. It's instead of a times b to the x, well, now we know it's f of x equals 12 times b to the x. 12 times b to the x. And now let's just repeat the process. So we've used the first point. All right, let's put a little check mark next to the first point. And now let's use the second point. Do that over here. Let's say f of x is equal to 12 times b to the power of x. Well, now in this case, the 108 is going in here for f of x, and the 2 is going in here for x. So we'll have 108 is equal to 12 times b to the second power. There we go. Oop. 1 108 is equal to 12 times b to the second power. Right? And now we could solve for b. Let's divide both sides by 12 to get rid of that 12. So divide the right by 12, divide the left by 12. On the right, those 12s will cancel. Right? So we got b to the second power. And then on the left side, if we take 108 divided by 12, that gives us 9. And now we could take the square root of both sides, and that gives us b is equal to, well, in the past, when we were solving equations and we take the square root, we get a plus or minus. We get a plus or minus. So b would be plus or minus 3. But because this is an exponential function, the base is not, the base cannot be negative. We can't have -3 to the power of x. So we don't need the plus or minus. With exponential functions, our base has to be a positive number. So let's erase that plus minus. And there is the other half. Now I took some time working through this problem, but once you're comfortable with the approach, this problem, I think, 1 minute, 2 minutes tops should be enough time to get through this problem. We've got f of x is equal to a times b to the x. In this case, a is 12 times b, which is 3 to the power of x. 12 times 3 to the x. Sometimes you may see it written with parentheses. 12 parentheses 3 to the x. That's just, to make sure that we know to use to follow correct order of operations. Exponent first, multiplication second. One too many parentheses. 12. Oh, everything's going wrong. 12 times 3 to the x. So either way, 12 dot 3 to the x or 12 parentheses 3 to the x. There's our function. All right, that's it for this one. Hope it was helpful.